here in the perimeter, there are no stars. Out here, we is stoned. Immaculate.
Hello and welcome. This is the C86 show. I'm David Eastaugh. As you know, we love a special guest in this episode. We have actually two. These are members of the band Blue Ash, because I recently spoke to Frank Secich and Jim Kendor from the combo to find out more about life, love, poetry and all that other groovy stuff. So this is the interview, and also to say they have a new collection that has just been released, titled Dinner at Mr. Billy's, that you'll find out about in this fascinating interview. So after several minutes of interest but casual chat, we get down to the exciting subject of the early formative years. And it starts with Jim and then goes on to, well, Frank. Anyway, enjoy. So over to you, Jim.
I was originally Beatles when they first hit. I liked the Beatles. But then once I saw the Stones, I liked them way better. They were a little more roughhouse, the way they acted, the way they carried on. I appreciated that growing up on the rough side of town. So
yes. And did you have any brothers or sisters that gave you musical directions in life at this stage?
I'm the oldest of 9 kids.
9, right? So God, that's like the Waltons, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why we call him Jim Bob.
and I lived on a mountainside too.
God, there you go. So when did you? What was your first album and first concert you went to?
I didn't do much like when I was young like that until
The Doors?
I think the Doors.
We went to the Doors concert.
Frank and I went to see the Doors together in Cleveland.
Right.
1968.
Yep.
My first one was Bob Dylan on his first electric tour, 1965 in Cleveland Music Hall. When people were booing him and stuff. But they didn't boo him in Cleveland. He always talked about that Minneapolis, Cleveland, and Texas were the only places on that worldwide tour he never got booed. But that was my first concert. Right. And what was your and Frank, what was your sort of musical moment that sort of sparked some interest? I liked Buddy Holly and Elvis in the 50s, but I never bought it. My first record I bought was in 1961, and it was Marie's the Name, His Latest Flame by Elvis, and Little Sister, double-sided single. So that was the one that really got me going. And then the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan show. The Ed Sullivan. Did you go and see the Baz Luhrmann film on Elvis Presley, epic Elvis Presley in concert that's just come out at the cinema? No, haven't seen that yet. Yeah. His early Las Vegas years. They found this footage that was in the archives in some salt mine in sort of, I think, Warner Music or whatever company. And they said, we've got all this footage of Elvis that never has been seen. And a very long interview with him as well, where he's just reminiscing and talking about his life. So they used it. Cool. If you get a chance, it is absolutely amazing. Baz Luhrmann, I have to check that out. Has glowed it up. So were you then sort of going through the 60s as it was happening and changing and going through this sort of the summer of love? Did you sort of think, God, we're part of this counterculture that's kind of changing society? Oh, yeah. Well, Jim and I started our first band in 1966 together. The City Jail. So we were already playing then, and we would do Stones covers. We did a couple originals, but mostly we would do Fortune Teller the last time. We also did Under Assist at West Coast promo.
We used to do some good Animals too.
Yeah, Animals and Beatles too. We did Kinks covers. That's when we started out. And that was 66 when we started. Yes. And when did you get your first musical instrument, Frank? What was it? The guitar or the bass or? I got the guitar, and when I was 14 or just ready to turn 14, my mom bought me a Harmony Monterey acoustic guitar with the F holes in it, and then I got a pickup for it later on, and that was my first guitar. Yes, and Jim, what was your how did your musical world develop? Because mostly people just stick with being a fan and collecting.
My dad was. He was more of a cowboy. He liked cowboy music, and he also was classical music.
Right.
He played first violin in his school, which was out in eastern Pennsylvania. And he played guitar, harmonica, mandolin. We had a mandolin at home and a violin. And he also played oboe.
Blimey, so it was a very musical moment. And
he was sort of off the wall. And we had records in the house, my whole lifetime. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I was telling you about liking the Stones and the Beatles, that was like when I really sort of got thinking about doing music, whereas before that, I used to listen to, a lot of the stuff on there. I listened to, Motown, rock and roll, cowboy music like Hank Williams, stuff like that.
Right.
I had a real mix.
Yes, that's good. So the Doors was both your first concerts together, or both?
Yeah, the first one we went to together was the Doors, and we went up there. It was the summertime of 1968.
68,
yeah. And they played it. We took the bus up and then tried to hitchhike home. Cleveland's 100 miles away from us, and the first car that picked us up after the concert took us all the way to our houses.
Crikey.
So that was pretty cool. But
can you remember much of the gig? Was it?
The Blues Image opened up for him. Was that one? Yeah, that was Blues Image with them.
Was it Blues?
And Cyrus Erie with Eric Carmen and Wally Bryson Pre-Raspberries played outside on a flatbed truck. But I think we only saw one song that they did.
Yeah, they were sort of away from where we were.
They were playing outside, of the venue, and it held like 10,000 people. But Blues Image that had "Ride, Captain, Ride upon your mystery ship." They were the opening band, and the Doors. That was a crazy concert. That was one of the craziest concerts I was ever at.
Yeah, he was quite the character.
Yeah.
Right. And what was Jim like? Jim Morrison.
Well, he came out. And the first thing he did was,
flip the finger.
He flipped the finger to everybody, but he says, when they had their first break in the music after, they had played like 2 or 3 songs, and he stopped and he solders up to the mic and he says, "Anybody got a light?" Like that. Lighters, bags
cigarettes,
of dope, joints, pills, and shit come flying up on stage.
100 of them bouncing up. We were about 5 rows back, so we weren't too far back. So we could see a lot of stuff there.
And he says, and then all the roadies come running out there and they're picking the shit up off the stage.
And he goes, "Thanks, man." He goes, "I do that once a year for my smokes."
God, that's yes. So was he a good front man, by the way?
He was. He was good.
Yeah, he was good.
Had a good voice too.
Yeah, he had a really good voice. And he wasn't, when we saw him, he wasn't all jacked up on stage or anything, totally out of it. Like some of the concerts.
He had the black leather on and everything. He looked real cool. He dove down into the audience at one time and he punched this girl right next to me in the face. And I thought, wow, that's weird, because he was just trying to get people off of him. But then the weirdest thing, there were about 10 other girls screaming, "Hit me, hit me." And I thought, wow, this is goofy. This is pretty crazy.
Yeah, there were girls throwing their undergarments up there and stuff like that.
Yes. So then after that, is this when you got was not because of that concert, but did Blue Ash then form the following year? Was it 69?
Yeah, we started the next year in like right around this time, the end of May and June, and decided to start Blue Ash and started looking for people. We got Goog Yendrick out in Brookfield to play guitar and David Evans to be our drummer. So we were ready to go by the fall, and we started playing in October of 69.
Yes. So were you, had you left school and were completely committed to the cause at this stage?
They asked us to leave.
we were seniors in high school, so school started at 1st of September. And we had heard from these guys over in Ohio how you could get away with the long hair at school, because we were always fighting with it. Get short-haired wigs. And we put our hair up underneath it. And then we told, the principal, we've become citizens now. We're not going to cause any trouble. So it went along for a couple of weeks until somebody told him we had outwitted him. And then he was making us not wear the wigs and get the haircuts, so he threw us both out our senior year. Yeah.
Right.
But then we had time to practice and everything, so that was good. So we spent all day just practicing with the band and everything. So
my mother never found out until mid-December.
Yeah, we never told our parents. We went off like we were going to school every day on our last year of school. Never showed up.
Crikey. Was Vietnam sort of in the background and was a concern that you were going to get kind of
Well, we were
up?
both up for the draft. So Jim, he decided to just lose a lot of weight. This is the first year of Blue Ash. So he went down to what'd you go down to
125 pounds.
Yeah, he got really thin. So he got picked and had to go for a physical, but they rejected him because he was too skinny.
No, actually it was I had flat feet.
No, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, I had flat feet, and they gave me what they called a 1Y back then.
Right.
And, which it was a 6-month deferment. And they were going to call me back in 6 months. And I think at the end of around 5 months, they sent me a letter that they had changed the law, and they were giving me a 4F, and unless it was a national emergency, I wouldn't be called again. So
yeah,
we had they had a draft lottery, and what they would do is pick numbers 1 through 365 the days of the year, and the birthdays would be in the other lottery with the balls, and they'd match them up, and that's where you had to go. So anybody that got from 0 to 180 had to go into the Army and be drafted. Well, it came down to the last 2 numbers, and my number still hadn't been called yet, my birthday, and there was number 8 left, and there was number 364, and they called the other one, and they got number 8, and I got the last one was 364, so I didn't even have to go for a physical or anything. I was done.
Wow, that must
his
have been...
birthday's the same day as our vaunted hero, Donald Trump.
He's 5 years older than me, saying June 14th. So,
and so was our drummer, David Evans.
Yeah, same birthday.
He's a year older than Frank, and he has June 14th also.
Rod Archer from the Zombies too. He's June. Our buddy Angeles that put out this record for Peppermint Productions, the new one,
Mr. Billy's.
Mr. Billy's. They've been putting out all the old Peppermint archives. Well, Dean plays in a band called Red, Wanting Blue, and his partner Anthony LaMarca plays in the War on Drugs. That band, they've won Grammy Awards and everything, and they've kind of taken over the Peppermint archives. Well, Dean also plays with the Zombies, so he's touring in with Colin Blunstone right now in Britain. He just played in Glasgow the other night, and he's the one that put that album together. So he plays percussion with him, drums and
old Colin's still doing well, isn't he?
Yeah, I just saw they put up the thing from Glasgow. He sounded amazing.
Well, you have a picture on your Facebook site of Dean and
John
Kavanagh.
Yeah, John Kavanagh from Radio 6 International in Glasgow. He went to the show too, and they're holding up the Blue Ash album and everything. So that's pretty cool.
That was the point I was trying to get to.
You got there in the end. So did you? I mean, when you went through that period in the late 60s, early 70s, did you sort of think, crikey, music's going through a bit of a strange period? You know, obviously Morrison had died, then Joplin, then Hendrix.
Yeah.
Right,
I met Janis Joplin.
Yeah. You met her?
In 1969 in the summer, it was in August. Frank and I, we went down to Atlantic City. They had a pop festival there. It was 2 weeks before Woodstock. And they had most of the bands that played at Woodstock were there, and I snuck backstage, and I got back there and I sat and watched her whole set from backstage, talked to her when she came off, and I just stayed there. And then Frank Zappa went on. I got to watch him back there, talk to him afterwards, and it was a pretty grand experience.
Yeah, that was a cool thing to go there, and that was the biggest pop festival of the time at that time. But then Woodstock just dwarfed it, or like 200,000 people at Atlantic City. But then you never heard of Atlantic City ever after that again.
Well, they had an infrastructure there that they could support. There was over 350,000 people, But there were no problems because it was held at the racetrack.
And they had restrooms and food and camping areas, and it was dry.
It wasn't like you were stuck out in the middle of nowhere. Nobody could get around at Woodstock.
So that was 1969, was it?
Yes.
Right. And then there was kind of the following year, there was another one, which I saw the film a few years ago called Festival Express, where the train trip across America featuring Janis Joplin, the Grateful Dead, the band.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never heard of it.
Well, it came out quite a few years ago. You know, when you think something came out a few years ago and then you think, no, that was decades. It's a sign of age, isn't it?
It's ironic, too, because our first recording was doing the tribute to Hendrix and Joplin that's on the Dinner at Mr. Billy's album.
Right.
We'll Live Tomorrow. The lead-off song is actually a tribute to her and Hendrix that this producer, Bob Mack, we used to play for. And we were 18 and 19 years old. He wanted us to take us in the studio, so we went down and did 3 songs in Philadelphia.
Yeah, the girl that wrote this song, she was sort of like a poet-type folk singer in Pittsburgh. And she wrote the song. You know, it's kind of a poignant song.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Come back to that one. So when you first started then, did you sign a production contract with Peppermint Productions? Was this?
Yeah. Well, yes. That was after.
A little bit after the stuff in Philadelphia. Yeah, in 1972, they wanted us to sign a production contract with them, and they gave us 2 free days of recording every month for 5 years. But we did the first demos, and the demos resulted in us getting signed, which shocked us.
With Mercury.
4 companies actually wanted to sign us: MGM, Mercury, Polydor, and Metro Media. But we took Mercury because they were a bigger album. They had Rod Stewart and, all the, David Bowie and people like that on it. So we wanted to go.
Yes. And was that Paul Nelson who was
Paul Nelson signed us, and the New York Dolls at the same time.
Right. And then you went into the studio to do No More, No Less. That was
our demise was when they signed Bachman Turner Overdrive, because they came down and they had bags of money to offer Mercury to match them for
promo and stuff.
Promo money, and they sort of went with it.
The Dolls and I sort of got the short end of the stick, but Paul Nelson, he was a revered writer and everything, and he loved both bands. He really stood up for both of us, and it ended up him losing his job over that too, because, but they just didn't know what to do with either band at the time. It was weird,
Yes. So when you recorded No More, No Less, when that came out, what was it well received? Did it?
Yeah, we got hundreds of reviews. I don't think we ever got a bad review on No More. I mean, it was everywhere. Rolling Stone 4 or 5-star reviews. Every newspaper.
If you read the reviews, you'd have thought we were the Beatles.
Yeah, really.
Coming out.
It was kind of embarrassing in a way.
They were glowing reviews.
Yeah.
Right, but then did you get dropped by Mercury quite soon after the album came out?
About a year and a half later, we recorded a second album with them. But then they didn't know what to do, and they had a lot of infighting. All the guys at the A&R branch of the company loved us, but the guys in publicity didn't know what to do with us. So they'd have these big fights and everything. They decided to record another one, so we recorded an album. Then they decided to put out one more single and see what it did. So we put out Anytime at All, the Beatles cover we did, and She's So Nice, another one we did from the second album. And then it started taking off a little bit. Even Dick Clark played it on American Bandstand, so we got good publicity. But then they just dropped us because they didn't know what to do with us. So we had a lot of people trying to sign us. Columbia flew us up to New York in 74 and 75. We played for all of them, almost got signed to them, almost got signed to RCA, then almost got signed to Nemperor Records by Nat Weiss, who was the Beatles' American lawyer. And Brian Epstein's a really good friend. And when the Beatles actually came to New York to do the Tonight Show, the Johnny Carson show, they stayed at Nat's apartment for a week. And that's where Paul McCartney formally hooked up with Linda Eastman when they were in New York. So that was pretty cool.
That's amazing.
And Nat wanted to sign us too. He came down to see us and everything was going good. Then after about a month, he gave me a call and he said, he goes, I just can't do it. He goes, I got to do you guys properly if I do it. I just don't, I have a lot of financial things going on and I can't do it. So I don't want to hold you back. try to get something else. And that's when we got Playboy Records.
Playboy. And David Evans then.
Yeah, he left during that time too. After the Mercury.
So you got Jeff.
He left after Mercury.
Yeah.
It was.
And then Jeff came in to take over.
Yeah, Jeff was our roadie, so he just stepped in. And Jeff was also our drummer in the
first band
in this 1966 City Jail. He was also our drummer. And so it's kind of that was kind of like a Blue Ash embryo.
No, Playboy Records is not a label that's that famous, is it?
It was then, but they went out of business.
It was Hugh Hefner's
from the Playboy magazine.
Yes, I would imagine in the 70s that was doing tremendous business.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, they had a lot of money and everything, and we did half of it in Miami and half of it in Los Angeles.
We were getting airplay, all around different spots in the country.
And getting regional hits. And it sold over 50,000 albums, and then they went out of business. So we were done. That was 10 years of Blue Ash. So we just kind of threw in the towel then.
Hugh Hefner hired a new CEO to run Playboy International. And the new CEO, he decided the record company wasn't making enough money. You don't need that, Hugh. We'll save a lot of money, blah, blah.
They had some good people
on the door we went.
They had country hits with like Mickey Gilley, and then had Hamilton, Joe, Frank, and Reynolds. Don't pull your love out. I don't know if that was a hit.
Barbie Benton,
who was
a girlfriend, and also she was Playboy Bunny at one point.
Yeah.
Yes, God.
That was an interesting time.
I would imagine. Did you struggle to fit into any kind of scene at that stage in the mid 70s?
Well, it was weird because you had the punk stuff was going, then a year or two later would be the power pop revival again, the power pop summer of 1969. But we were trying just to do what we did the best, but they tried to embellish it. They brought in horn arrangers and everything, put horns and strings on some of the songs, and we were pretty upset about a lot of that stuff.
Reviews weren't near as good on the second album as the first album.
And the songs
were good,
and we had a lot better songs too, which we wanted to put on that eventually came out on Around Again and different things that were put out later on in the 2000s. But we just could. It just didn't click. Like I said, and the funny thing, it was actually selling and taking off, but then the Playboy went out of business, so we were like down and out again. So,
do you own your kind of music from those two albums? Do you?
No, but we own all the stuff with Peppermint, the Dean and Gary Ramey and Anthony Lamarck.
We had already recorded,
we had recorded 200 some recordings there. So there's still like 130 left in the vaults at Peppermint that are great recordings. Yes. And the stuff we did for Nat Weiss and everything too. There's a lot of good stuff in Columbia, a lot of good things still in the vault. So they want to put out another 4 or 5 albums over the next 5 or 6 years if Jim and I last that long.
Well, you should do. I mean, I'll
Thanks. I needed that,
Well, everyone's now. We're all living much longer, aren't we? It's all good.
We aren't spring chickens.
Yeah.
Well, no.
I'll be 75 in a couple of weeks, and Jim will be 75 in December. Of course, he has a better birthday. Marianne Faithfull was born on his birthday.
Right. I don't know, but our good president is, I think, 80, isn't he? Or your good president, and he's keeping it healthy, which is exciting. So look, 1979, you quit that moment, and yes. So 79. So how do you navigate the 80s? What was your 80s? Was that the wilderness years for you, or did you sort of pick it up?
Well, I'll go first, and then Jim can tell his story. I started playing with Steve Baders at 79 and 80 to 81. So I did his solo stuff with him, Disconnected and all that. And then I got in a band with Jimmy Zero from the Dead Boys called Club Wow. Was with them till 1985. Then I managed a band from the Infidels till 1990, produced their records. And in 1990, I just quit the music business. I had it, and I had a young son growing up, and I didn't want to be on the road or anything. So I literally quit from 1990 to 2003. I never even picked up a guitar, wrote a song or anything. I coached Little League baseball and hockey and did stuff with my son, had him growing up. And then in the early 2000s, picked up the guitar, started writing again. And they wanted to put out the Blue Ash around again, and I had formed the Deadbeat Poets, and that's what I did. And we started doing Blue Ash reunions and everything. And Jim can tell you what he did all those years.
Yes, Jim, tell us what you did during your 80s. Because I did notice, with a lot of artists who have a zeitgeist moment in one period, they struggle on another. And quite a few artists that I really liked in the 70s, their 80s albums and work were a little bit it was almost like, let's fast forward these, albums and get to the next period. I'm not saying that, like, I don't know, people like David Bowie's 80s albums could be a bit...
Well, the 80s just don't hold up that well.
No, their production quality had changed, and it was all getting a bit the gated reverb and the overproduction. So what was, Jim, what was your 80s?
When Blue Ash sort of fell apart a little bit because we were still tied to our producer who got us the Playboy contract. We didn't want to go back to playing jukebox music again, all covers and crap like that, so you could play the clubs, which it's tough. And so I had to get a job and go work, for the first time ever.
That was a shock to the system, I'd imagine.
Yeah, a little bit. And then I enrolled in college, went and got a degree, and then wound up not even being able to use it because the hiring in the country was so horrible at that point. The jobs just weren't there.
Oh yes, Reaganomics. That was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, trickle down.
Yes, give rich people even more money. That will help the poor.
I got a bag to send to that bastard.
Yes, I know.
You got it. Anyhow.
You do know that Keith Richards threatened Trump with a knife before. Have you ever heard that story, David?
No, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah,
but,
they were playing at one of his casinos at the time, the Stones, and they were going to do a certain thing there,
New Jersey.
And then Trump started coming in and bossing everybody around and wanted all this and wanted paid for it and all this, and was trying to do his regular Trump scam. And they had to hold Keith Richards back. He actually pulled out a knife and said he was going to go get him, and Trump's people had to hold him.
Good old Keith.
Look it up. It's a true story. And so finally Trump settled it and paid them or whatever he had to do to, he was trying to cheat him some way, He's an idiot.
Good old Keith. Yes. The best one I heard of Keith was when Lady Diana sort of passed away, and for some reason, the journalist that asked Keith Richards what he thought, he said, asked, what did you make of, Lady Di passing away? And he said, I didn't know the chick. And I thought, God, that was such a good response. It's like, because everybody was getting very emotionally tied up. Right. And he just was like, the greatest answer. I just didn't know the chick. And I thought,
no piece of work.
Yeah, he had another great one about John Lennon. I don't know if you ever heard this one about him with John Lennon. And after John Lennon was shot, somebody was interviewing him, and he was going up and playing. He would go up and play in bars in Harlem, and these dive bars, and just go in and play in New York. And they said, "Aren't you afraid? Do you need a bodyguard now, or since John Lennon?" He goes, "No." He goes, "No one's going to shoot me." He goes, I don't piss people off. He goes, "Nobody's going to shoot me." He goes, actually, when I heard about Lennon, he goes, I was probably the only person in the world that wasn't surprised about it, because I figured somebody would have shot him back in 1965. He goes, if you were around him, Len, he goes, there were a lot of people that wanted to shoot him. I go, oh my God. Yeah. He goes, but I always loved the guy, but he goes, it just didn't surprise me when I heard that. He goes, then I heard it was an assassination. He goes, he just thought he pissed somebody off and they shot him.
Yes, God. What?
But it's just funny how people take different things like that. It's funny to keep thinking. He goes, but no one would ever want to shoot me because I don't have a bodyguard.
Yeah. Well, God, I think he had a good drug dealer called Swiss Tony, didn't he, at one stage?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Had that. So that was the kind of the glory of Reagan years. Then the 90s, the band still hadn't reformed. So you were still doing your stuff?
I was working as a carpenter. I went to 4 years of apprenticeship school also, and I was working, and Cupid, our old guitar player, from early Blue Ash days, he formed a blues band, and he asked me, to sing in it. And first I just kept saying, I don't have time for the stuff. But then he got me up there, and once I started singing with those guys, I enjoyed it.
They were really good. I went to see them a couple of times. A really good band called Thaddeus Wolfgang, and they were Blues Weasels before that.
Yeah, that was before I joined.
Yeah.
So then the reunion comes. Now, I did an interview with this guy a few months ago, actually. The International Pop Overthrow. This bloke who does these.
It's over there in England right now.
He was in Liverpool, wasn't he? And I just could not believe, his enthusiasm for putting these events on, and his kind of the way he organised it was amazing. But yes, so when we did this interview, he mentioned Blue Ash as, I think, his favourite band.
We played the International Pop Overthrow in
2006.
2003.
Oh, was it 3?
In Philadelphia.
Right. Oh, that's right.
And we went to Philadelphia at the Khyber
So was
Club.
that the first time you all got together again after?
Yes, the original band. Yes, and Jeff joined us for other gigs too with David Evans, and Bobby Dark.
06 was B&B back room. Yeah.
It's 2004. So anyway, we did that. We did a bunch of gigs like that, and they put out the Round Again double CD, 44 songs Blue Ash never released before, and it was a big hit on the underground circuit. So we played a bunch of gigs with it, and it's sold out everywhere. It goes for like 400 pounds or something in Britain now, because I only let them make 5,000 copies of it, so they could never make any more of them.
Right.
So, and it sold out everything. It goes for like crazy amounts of money now.
We're probably going to re-release some of the material that's on there.
Yeah, we're going to
put it on some of the Peppermint stuff.
Yeah, put it out on LPs this time instead of CDs. So
at that point did the bands come back together as a sort of semi-permanent unit?
Yeah, pretty much. We were doing, if things would come up, we would do it. And I had started a new band called the Debbie Poets too. And then we started putting out records in 2006. So we put out like 8 albums in the last, I don't know, almost 20 years or so.
Yes, you've been very prolific, actually. Did you just feel that, right, I'm not going to blow this, the second coming, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, what happened when I started, I hadn't even picked up a guitar in 13 years, and I picked up my old 1966 Gibson 330. And I just started playing this riff on 13-year-old strings, and the riff was really cool. And I thought, oh, shit, now I've got to write this song. So I wrote Stiv Bader's Ghost Tour song, and then the songs just started pouring out of me. And then, we were doing the Blue Ash reunions, and Debbie Poets went over and played in England, and we toured Europe and Spain. And then Blue Ash went and toured Spain, too, in 2016. And they put the Hearts and Arrows record out there. So we kept that going. But Jim and I have actually been recording for the last 10 years. We have 9 songs done, new ones. We need another 2 or 3 more. And I've had half a dozen offers to put it out. Since we finish it, we'll get it out in the next year or so. All new Blue Ash stuff. With us,
his hands, he had about 5 surgeries on his hand.
I have to have another one June 25th too. I still can't play yet again. I my hands lock up. I have carpal tunnel and trigger fingers. And
right.
They just lock, and I can't play. I can't bend it. They shot me with steroids and everything now, so I'm okay now, but it's going to wear off in about a month. That's when they're going to do the surgery.
Yes, so you get an injection at the moment just to try.
Yes, I have the injections now. So
does it sting like hell? Has it? Or is
it's terrible. This is about my 7th surgery on this hand too. I've had real bad problems with it. So
yes. So then, did Peppermint Records then sort of contact you about dinner at Mr. Billy's? How did this?
Yeah.
So and they were going to put it out a couple of years ago, but then they found out that these Philadelphia tapes existed. So Dean and Anthony, they did some serious detective work, found out that we had recorded in 1970 at Sigma Sound Studios, which is a big soul studio. Wilson Pickett and different people used to Peggy Russ, all kind of people.
Todd Rundgren.
Yeah, Todd Rundgren. Yeah. Anyway, so they found out that the tapes from that era were bought by Drexel University, which is a big college in Philadelphia. So they went to Drexel and they found the actual track tapes. So they brought them up and we remixed them for those songs. So that's why they held off on that album for a year, because they wanted to put those on there too. So we got the Philadelphia ones and a lot of some more of the Peppermint ones.
Crikey, that's quite comprehensive. So these were all recorded during that session then?
Yes, 3 of the songs were.
And then did they have to get the tapes and bake them and then sort of...
No. Most of the tapes were pretty good. And a lot of the tapes from that era, like late 60s and that, were really good tapes. They were starting to make good tapes in the late 70s. And then in the 80s, they started making cheaper tapes. And that's when they would oxidize and all that stuff. But a lot of the older ones stay pretty much intact. They don't even have to bake them that much because they were really, really good tape.
Blimey, that is fantastic. You must be
I don't think on any one of the Peppermint things I've ever seen a fallout on any of them. I don't think they've had to bake any of them. None of them have any kind of drop or oxidation on them or anything.
And were you amazed when you listened to these recordings?
Oh, yeah, it was blowing our minds,
I forgot half the songs existed.
So you were very prolific in this period in the early 70s.
Oh yeah, definitely. We were writing songs every other day, so...
Right.
And Jim wrote songs too. He's got one on the new album too. It's All Right by Me, which is a great song.
It's all right. Yeah. So it starts. We'll live tomorrow. I've been rolled. When I get you, stay.
Yeah.
So when you put the track listing together, was that quite straightforward, or did that take a lot?
Yeah, pretty much, because the 1970 ones are first, and then the 1971 ones like. Stay and Here and Gone that no one's ever heard before. And then it was 1972 and we started doing the demos up through like 74. And the only one that's out of whack there is the 1979 one, She Isn't There, which is the last one we ever did at Peppermint. We put that on. And Jazel Jane, which I told you last time we interviewed, I was telling you it was in the hit series Daisy Jones and the Six with your hometown guy, Sam Claflin in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was pretty cool, and that's still a big hit on Amazon.
Well, I would imagine. My God, that must be. So yes, because I sort of noticed doing this show, especially because my decade was probably more the 80s. But when bands had that they had a bit of a 5-year narrative. They get together, the 12-month honeymoon period of the band gelling, getting a single. We had a DJ called John Peel. Then it was obviously the New Musical Express, NME, and Sounds.
Sophomore Blues come right after that.
Yeah.
Hey, John Phil used to play Blue Ash all the time too.
Oh, that's great! But
he loved Dusty Old Fairgrounds, our Dylan cover. He used to play it all the time on his show.
Oh, that's brilliant! But bands, would get that kind of little bit of traction. They get a single, they get an album. The Transit Band around the country, which is tiny, and then the second album, third, and then it's like things just fell apart because progress wasn't being made and tensions in the band. But then, decades later, there's this kind of interest that sort of starts to develop with bands that probably thought no one's going to be interested in us 20, 30 years later. But then,
definitely.
But you get more interest now 50 years later than you probably would have done in the 80s.
It's pretty crazy. Almost every day for the next 2 weeks, we're doing nothing but interviews.
Right.
and radio shows and stuff. It's pretty crazy. It's kind of cool though. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
We have great fun with it.
And obviously you've got your, surgery to sort out. But do you, when you sort of get this, you've got more material to go into the studio to record then?
Yes. Yeah, we're going to finish that album we've been threatening for a while. And then we're going to put more things out with Peppermint too, because this thing is selling really well. It's picking up everywhere. Japan, Germany, just got picked up in Spain on Garrison Records.
The stuff that he's talking about, though, we recorded with Pete Revere, who played in Deadbeat Poets with him. And he also the Deadbeat Poets, when we did our Blue Ash stuff, like when we went to Spain and that,
they were the back.
They were the back.
Yeah,
backline on the band.
And I played rhythm guitar, so that was.
But he has a studio, and that's where we recorded him. So.
Right, so you can just go and spend time in there. Do you find that you work particularly quickly? Are you quite fast at sort of getting an idea, sorting it out, recording it?
Some songs go quick, some not so quick.
He's excellent, though, in the studio. I've never seen him do more than 1 or 2 takes ever in the hundreds and thousands of times I've been in the studio with him. He can just nail stuff. He's just natural in there. Takes me a little bit longer. I'm not the greatest of the musicians, but I'm a decent bass player. But we can still record and do it. We can still write them. So
on this one, you've got David Evans on drums and you got Bill on lead guitar.
Yes.
For the dinner at Mr. Billy's.
Yes.
This was the sort of the lineup at that time.
Yeah, the classic Blue Ash.
Most of the album is.
Yeah.
Yes. So you've still got lots of archives and tapes still knocking about that can be accessed.
We still have hundreds, and we still have dozens that we're still looking for. There's television show appearances up in the mountains, and there's also different sessions we did at different studios and stuff that have just disappeared. And we're trying to find all this stuff too. If we could find all that, we could go on forever with releases.
Because I can imagine. I was going to say, because in the UK there's Cherry Red Records, who seem to be both a record label, but they've also bought up a lot of labels and catalogs, and they're really good at archiving. Have you enjoyed sort of getting all your work archived and sorted?
I'll be right back because I got to show you something, Jim.
Oh,
yeah. I was going to tell you that a lot of the recordings that are in the vault over there, when we used to get our free recording time, they were part of the production contract. We used to go in and we would just set up, get everything mic'd and get a nice balance and get everything set. And we were playing live, like old Beatle records or whatever. And they weren't the kind of recordings we were doing, when we went in and recorded the albums, where you spent more time doubling, doing production stuff with them.
Yes.
A lot of these were just, one take. We wanted them for posterity and copyright reasons. And then we'd never hear them again. Paul Nelson or somebody, a producer had a chance to sit and listen to what we had without us having to sit down and play everything for them, unless they came out to watch us live.
David, speaking of Cherry Red, these are just coming out everywhere. This is the Dylan one that just came out. Blue Ash is the last song on there with Dusty Old Fairgrounds. It's a box set called I Shall Be Released. They just released this on Cherry Red. They released this the year before. It's Looking for the Magic. Blue Ash is on there too. Abracadabra. Have you seen your 3-disc set? Power Pop American 70s.
I'm so pleased they send you copies.
Well, this is Cherry Red too. I Want to Be a Teen Again.
Oh, I've got a copy of that. Yes.
Oh, I'm on 3 of those there because you got Club Wow was my band with Jimmy Zero in the 80s is on there. And it starts off with Not That Way Anymore from Stiv Bators. I wrote that song. And then it has The Infidels on here, too, which became the Deadbeat Poets. So I have 3 songs on there.
Oh, okay.
Cherry Red's been doing us a really good deal over there.
I would imagine.
The Bob Dylan one was released, that was in the early 2000s, I think.
Oh, there's been a couple Dylan ones. Yeah.
Well, the one, I Shall Be Unreleased, and it's got Joan Baez, Rod Stewart, just a ton of different bands that recorded Dylan songs that Dylan never released.
Yeah, like Dusty Old Fairgrounds and Walls of Red Wing. So that was on Rhino. So they put all those out. And there were different Dylan comps we've been on with Dusty Old Fairgrounds, a lot of them in the UK too. So
I'll go and check that out. And
we're keeping in there with it. These
keeps showing up somewhere like a bad penny.
Well, but this is all just in the last year or so it's been pretty cool.
Well, the sound that you created and you know, one can hear, you know, it's very accessible. It's very nice. It's jolly. I don't know, you know, probably you hate the word nice, but, you know, it's got a really amazing vibe to it. So I can see why people have enjoyed sort of discovering it. And also you're getting a lot of good press in those magazines.
It's fun. Yeah, I can't believe how we're really appreciative of Shindig going with us like that, and Goldmine coming out now too. There's going to be some cool stuff in there.
That's going to be it. Yeah. When was the last time you played live? Was that kind of before COVID?
Probably 2000, right before the COVID. I think we did a small tour of Canada. We went up there for a couple of days. It was that, and then we did some Pittsburgh shows. But that was probably about it. Yeah.
Would you ever play live again, or?
Yeah.
Do you think you'd ever play live again, or is that something? We might.
We'll see what happens. If my hand can get okay and we can get enough. We had an offer like a year ago, and we almost took it, but it kind of fell through. They were going to offer us a lot of money to play a big festival in Spain, and we were ready to go. But then it kind of fell through. You know, they lost their funding or something.
Yes.
They would have to pay us like $7,000 or something to get us over there. So they were going to give us and plus the airfares, but that would have been worth it, you know.
God,
stuff like that will keep coming up. I had an offer. I did acoustic stuff, and from the Lemon Twigs a little while ago, they were playing. Yes. I wanted to know if I would open the show for them, and I said I would love to, but I can't play, you know. And then we could, and Jim and I like to do stuff. We call it half-ash. He came up with that. We'll just do acoustic with me and him. We'll do book signings and stuff like that. So we'll probably do some of that stuff by the end of the year.
I do say, you know, the packaging for this new album is absolutely lovely. That photograph you've got at the cover is just so evocative.
Yeah, I love that photograph. Yeah.
It captures a magic moment, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, it was a great place. There was a guy that was one of the first surgeons, plastic surgeons or something. His name was, I can't remember. He had a big thing on Glenwood Avenue in Youngstown. And he had this big apartment building with all these statues and office buildings. And they had a photography studio in there too. Yeah, so that's where we took those pictures at. But they had all kind of props in there. So we were taking Jim's hugging a tree, and there's all kind of stuff. All these crazy props were in there. So we just, I love that picture.
Threw a bunch of stuff together.
And I love the picture because David Evans is sitting there in his boots off. It's just sitting there. There's no boot on. One boot's on, one off. I just thought it was so crazy picture. When I saw that, I said, we got to use that, you know?
God, it is a fantastic photograph.
Yeah.
So with this, you're going to probably do, is it on Bandcamp? So it's a digital download as well as CD.
Yes.
And is there any other formats, or is it those two?
It's CD, LP. There's 6 different vinyls, I think. There's blue. Get Hip Records has a couple hundred white with blue swirls in it. Multicolored ones, brown, sky blue, and black. There's like 6 different vinyls. And then there's the CD, has 2 extra songs on it. And then there's the digital downloads too. So,
God, Peppermint must be so pleased with this kind of excitement.
Oh yeah, they're doing really well with it. And those guys are just great, Anthony and Dean, to do that. And like I said, he's touring with Colin right now over in England. So that's
and they have a podcast too.
Yeah, they have a podcast too. We're on there Friday too.
Yeah, Friday they're airing ours. Interview that we did with them.
What's Colin's surname?
Did you say Blunstone?
No, oh God, he's touring with Colin. No, who was the chap from Peppermint that's with Colin? Sorry.
Oh, Anthony and Dean.
Dean Anxious. Anxious.
Right. Oh, I'll have to check that out, actually. Yeah. So you got potentially a new album once you've got your next couple of songs and your surgery. And then did you say, just going forward, there's going to be more archive albums coming out from that period?
They want to do another 4 or 5 albums of the archives. There's that much stuff that they could get good stuff out of, if not
So is
more.
it the case of looking at sort of early next year or later this year?
Yeah, probably next year on that. I also just got a thing in the mail just now. When I played with Stib and the Dead Boys, they're putting a live album out for a record store day.
Right.
Dead Boys. And they just sent me the artwork, and it looks fantastic. So
Yes, because I think that's when I saw the film a few years ago, which is quite something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. Funny stuff there.
Little did you know all these little things you were doing in the 70s and 80s, and sort of got such an interest.
Yeah, I really never would have thought that.
The ember that never goes out.
I know, but this is all very good. And how do you manage, Jim, to keep your vocal going? Do you do much rehearsing, practicing?
Actually, not that much anymore.
He still sounds the same, though. It's unbelievable. Well, he never smoked, though. I used to smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day. He never smoked.
Right, so you kept that. Yes. Well, I have to say, between the three of us, we all got a good head of hair. So there you go.
Yeah.
So
that's the one thing I'm the most proud of.
Hey, let it be.
Let it, absolutely. My God, it's quite a relief. I don't think I could cope. There's a lot of things you have to go through in life. I don't think that's one that you'd want, really, is it?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I dodged that bullet.
I know. Well, I know it's very impressive. Well, look, thank you guys for this. This has been amazing. It's lovely to catch up again, Frank. I know we've had a few previous.
It's great. I can't wait to. Let me know when this is going to go.
I will. I'll post you a copy.
For sure, because I have tons of sites that'll go up all over the place, and Dean and those guys will put it up. It'll be all over the place.
And that was me in conversation with two of the members of Blue Ash. That's Frank and Jim, talking about their life in music and also the new release that's come out. This has been the C86 Show. David Eastaugh. Have a great week. Stay safe.